Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Let's get this show on the road.
And here we are for another day. Wednesday, hump day. August 11th, 2021. And it's hard to believe we're halfway through. And yes, if you were paying attention, that was the Galaga game. I used to have actually the full-size arcade version of that in my apartment. My very overpriced apartment when I used to live on the main line. Different life, different time. Yeah, a long time ago.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I got the coffee maker. So, 100% Colombian coffee. Let's see if it's hot. Not too hot. This is a, pardon me, a medium dark roast. You got to slurp that coffee when it's that hot. Coffee slurpers. There's probably somebody out there that's like one of their pet peeves, so to speak, right? So I guess before we get started with anything, I'm going to shrink myself down to mini-me. And we could see over here, we see NOAA and the National Weather Service. We don't need to see that right now. We've acknowledged them. And we could see Miami. There's Miami and Havana, Jamaica. But I don't want to cover TS Fred, which is Tropical Storm Fred. Now, I can't really, for the life of me, imagine Tropical Storm Fred causing us too many problems. The reason being that, actually, I can move myself up here. Well, not really. I want to get the legend in there. And I want to get me somehow, if I can do this. Come on. I want to select myself. I want to put myself up here in near the Philadelphia area. And we're going to temporarily move the Rock Flux logo out of the way, I guess. Actually, here, let's just do this. No. Okay, somebody takes a screen capture. I'm not on that much of an ego trip. Let's take these two things. Oh, just, by the way, if you're wondering what's going on,
Good morning.
Okay.
She thinks everything's funny, trust me. Video capture device. I'm just going to move these behind the climate. You got that? And let's take this down. How are things in Guadalajara? Some song I remember as a kid. And we're not going to look at rain, thunder. Well, we need to look at rain, thunderstorms. I got to shrink this thing down more. I hate this. You just want to do a show. You just want to get it started. You want to get over it. Anyway, this is issued 4:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time by the National Weather NOAA, National Weather Service, and DOC and NCEP and the Weather Prediction Center, and prepared by Zavadov with all kinds of other credits added to that. We're broadcasting live. The truth, 30 frames per second. And we're 5 minutes into the show. So, with all that said,
The Weather Watch for
Now, it's 4:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time where I am situated, which is in the Mid-Atlantic states. I woke up to the sound of rain. I had my window open all last night. Well, no, from about, midnight on. I got up around that time and turned on the ceiling fan and opened the window. And yesterday we had rain on and off here. Rain/thunderstorms, but I may have heard a rumble at one point during the course of the day, but we didn't really get the so-called thunderstorms as the slash predicted. Now, looking at the map, and we just wanted to do this because normally I basically give you my weather and, the weather outside my neck of the woods, as it were, it's 73 degrees outside of the studio, and here it's supposed to get up to 88, and the low is going to be 73. And tomorrow it's looking like it's going to get up into the low 90s. Friday is going to be in the high 80s, probably break 90 again. And then Saturday, maybe 79, 80-ish. Sunday, 81, 80-ish. So we're in a heat wave until Friday, and then the weekend it's hard to say that it really cools off on the weekend. It's just that in the weekend we get back down to around 80 in the daytime. And that's here, and that's in the Mid-Atlantic states. And I could say with a fair amount of confidence that forecast is pretty good for a bigger swath of the country on the eastern side, except when you get down the south into Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. But anyway, continued rain all along the eastern portion of the U.S., except it's looking like Oklahoma and Texas and Arizona or Arkansas are going to get a break. Arizona, New Mexico, this is like their collect your rain season. So even though the temperatures there, which I don't have showing up, are going to be still pretty high. And of course, pretty much dry in the whole Northwest, including all the way down to Los Angeles. And the plains are also looking dry today. But there's going to be a heat index pretty well across, and severe storms possible, looks like around Lake Michigan, Chicago area, northern Illinois, eastern Iowa, southern and eastern part of Wisconsin, and I guess if you're in the northern tip of Ohio and Indiana, if I didn't say Indiana already. So that's welcome. For me, it's welcome as a gardener. And you see there's two tropical storms. There's Tropical Storm Kevin over in the Pacific and Tropical Storm Fred over in the Atlantic. Now, there's not much to expect, unless something strange happens from either of those tropical storms. As I mentioned yesterday, there's a tremendous amount of sand being somehow, it's kind of fishy, being, just pushed up into the atmosphere from the Sahara Desert, way more than usual. It's not uncommon for us to get, dry sand coming across the Atlantic Ocean, but the volumes that we've seen lately are just unnatural. And we know geoengineering is going on, so it may be part of their new plan to basically keep hurricanes off of out of the U.S. And there's some rumored to be this bunker or fuel oil, which is highly toxic to humans and animals and aquatic life, being used on the Pacific side for geoengineering purposes. And I realize that 99.9% of the people have no idea what I'm talking about that. And you're going to have to go down a rabbit hole to figure that out, because I'm not going to waste an entire show. It would take an entire show to catch you up on that. I mean, it's bad enough that we're dealing with this Sahara sand situation, which is, by the very least, if you're not someone like me, by the very least, it's anomalous. And those, actual reports coming in, because this sand is reaching Florida, the Gulf Coast, southern states, southeastern states. And there are mold spores, bacteria and virus and all kinds of microscopic stuff in that sand. So it's interesting to note, if you wanted to get something across the Atlantic en masse, right? Something microscopic that could cause problems. There you go. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. I think you can make a screen capture of this if you're interested in studying your own weather. Otherwise, that's
the Weather Watch forecast.
And now I'm just going to stay here in the void and avoid it all. Avoid the void. Now we become giganticus. And I'll, at this point, need to bring back my title card. And I don't know if you noticed at all, but there's a good picture of the guitar, my kind of metal guitar on my microphone. It's a lapel pin I've had for years. I mentioned this once before, but I don't think I deleted the text to bring it out for you. Got my New York hat on. I see we finally get rid of that freaking governor of New York. As somebody who's lived and worked in New York on multiple occasions, not under that, dictator, murderer of senior citizens, and basically molester, allegedly. This is allegedly. But good to see the guy go, because he seemed to be a lying son of a bitch in my estimation. Allegedly. That's allegedly. This coffee machine cost $9.88 from Walmart. A friend of mine picked it up for me. Now, I don't know how long it's going to last, but I hope I at least get a year out of it. I mean, for $10, and I got this big can of 100% Columbia coffee delivered to my door from Aldi last week. So if this works, let's just hope it works. It's like I was thinking this morning,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
As I babble, just to make that clear to you, I have, I don't think I put up my morning chat. My morning chat just says new coffee. And I was thinking about, the things you have to do and laziness, right? People talk about fatigue, and getting tired. Man, I woke up at 1 o'clock today. I asked the old, voice assistant. And I laid in bed, and then thankfully it was like 3:57 was the last time I asked, but basically 4 o'clock. Now it's 4:56 a.m. So I guess between having my bowl of cereal with just about everything healthy you could imagine and a lot of high fiber I'm trying to put in, but, I was pretty hefty. It was more, I put too much stuff, I think, in that cereal bowl. I had half a banana left that I had put in the refrigerator, and that was just, it had to be eaten. Some blueberries, Raisin Bran with raisins, a little bit of oatmeal, because I put this coconut silk, milk substitute in there, along with a scoop of yogurt, cinnamon, some raw honey, and some organic unsweetened coconut flakes. You know, every one of those things is pretty good for you. And, you know, of course, there's like a couple of those things were probiotic. So I'm trying my best to get high fiber and the probiotic thing going to kickstart the old, digestive process, the microbiome. I don't know, the colon and all that stuff. Just another one of those things you have to deal with. And, and and I do, sometimes I have myself, a treat, so to speak. And I've been buying frozen yogurt, which claims in the description that there's live, it's like that it's a probiotic, put it that way. Now, I don't know how, something frozen, I guess, when it melts, then it becomes active. So is it a form of yogurt at all, or is it just like, is it hype? I don't know. But I guess there's some sugars and stuff in there, so I should probably not even eat that. But that's about as far as I go in the sugar route. Is like a frozen yogurt. Now, and then the rest of the day, it's tomatoes, man. And this rain the past 2 days is just super fantastic. Yesterday, like I said, I think it rained on and off 3 times. The sun came out maybe a little bit in between. And this morning it rained, and it seemed to come down hard there for a little while. Not like a deluge, but enough that it's better than me and the hose. So that's 2 days. And, when the rain comes down like that, you basically get, put up my title card, which is really confusing for people. We live on a nitrogen planet. A lot of people don't know that. They don't think about that. They hear about CO2 and they got this idea that man-made CO2. The IPCC came out with a report yesterday that was basically riddled with lies and half-truths. Let me say that again. The UN IPCC put out this hefty, thick report, okay? And it was basically filled with absolute, blatant lies and deceptive half-truths. In other words, it's a political report to push this 0.004 in man-made climate as if it even is a thing. That's how far off we are. The title of this show is Game Over ? And of course, I've got shirts where you can get Game Over, and I have a hat. In fact, I have one behind me somewhere if I get rid of the title card. You can see it. Let me go get it. I don't like these kinds of hats because they're too big. It's like you could put this hat over the hat. And I don't know, in other words, it has a big crown. I like the hats that are like the poplin hats. But anyway, this is available on a t-shirt. And I kind of put it in that look old, like kind of 80s game type face. But you can get this on a hoodie or a t-shirt. I highly recommend it. This is like one of the phrases of the time. It's like there are 4 shirts that I'm pushing right now. And they are witches, they are. That's just me being mad. I'm sorry for that. I don't know what to do. I don't know what came over me. They are witches, they are.
Channel check. Left channel. Left channel.
They are witches, they are. Game Over, next to my Codex book. There are witches, there are. Let's bring up the hoodie. The hoodie. So yeah, you can get Game Over available in a hoodie as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just look here quickly. And again,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
I always start the show. Hey, it's my show. You know, you're talking to me. We're going to get into some interesting things today, so hang in there, you know? Yeah, that IPCC report, I mean, you got to be fucking kidding me. Pardon my profanity, because I really care. You know, product picks. Game Over Cap, Game Over. Okay, I got one of her. Yeah, I mean, this gives a good example. So we also have, you know, Game Over available in a hoodie. And there must be a way, you know, I don't know if I go into filters. Do they have a thing here called crop? Scaling, aspect ratio. Crop pad. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, I think you have to, let's say. Oh, yeah, you can. I'm cropping this picture. I should be able to crop this without. Boy, this really needs to be cropped. And I'm just cropping the left side. Let's take it 160 just to make it seem like it's something. It works. I'll tell you, this program I have is pretty freaking cool. But, you know, Game Over, hey, you could see, you notice the tan now, right? It's pretty easy to tell. The white shirt on. I am out in the sun almost every day. Of course, I wasn't yesterday. The white from this, which I could basically change if I wanted to. If I go into system preferences, I want to talk about Macs today too. I want to talk about a lot of stuff. Universal access is a stuff for handicapped people. And what that does is, you see how it just turns everything dark. What it does is it makes your computer look like an old IBM. Enhanced contrast. That's interesting too. But I'm not going to worry about it. I don't care. You know. You can see those 3D glasses next to this arm there too. Yeah, I'm trying to get everything here, you know, with the transistor radio, which is also still visible over there. I'll show you where.
This is insane. This is insane.
Yeah, this is insane. I'm like a ventriloquist. But, you know, keeping coffee hot is hard to do. You know, it's like that breaking up is hard to do thing. This was supposed to be like 2 cups of coffee and a little bit spilled, but it was supposed to be 3. So it turns out I'll probably have to put 4, you know, and I put like 3 scoops in and over 3, you know, little things of water. But anyway, Game Over. It's a title show. It's almost as good as the title card. Let's take her here. And I'm going to have to go back into, since I still have her, go to filters. And we now know that we're going to take like 172 off of that. Okay. So we could kind of just put her up here. She's got that weird, they call that a bun or something on the top of her head. We don't even need to see her whole forehead. All right. Let's keep her there right now. And let's bring back the title card. Chart of electromagnetic radiation. If you're looking at this on a 57-inch TV or one of those 80 or something, like, you know, you're one of those like crazy people who maxed out your credit card to get a giant TV. I almost did. I almost got a 57. I mean, I currently have like, I think it's only like in 42 or something like that. So 57, how much bigger is that? I think you really got to go to like 70, whatever the next size up is. This is a very old chart that you would find in an advanced high school in the old days, but more or less this would have been like a college, in a science class. And this thing would have been huge. This would have been a wall chart. And this shows the range of of wave patterns. You could see there electric waves, radio waves, infrared, ultraviolet X-rays, gamma rays, all that kind of stuff. And then visually, what's nice about it, and I don't have the artwork for this to actually reproduce this, like 18 by 24 or 24 by 48. I mean, I'd love to have the giant size one on my wall. But I can enlarge this to fill the screen for you. Sorry that the morning show's covering something up. But you get the idea here, right? And broadcasting, radio, long wave radio, short wave radio. But the thing about this is that a lot of these Wi-Fi signals, and I do this so often that it's starting to become, they used to call old hat, is that I bring out the old scientific field device here, right? Turn on the on button here, right? Face it at the monitor. Let's get rid of the chart for a second. And the red light is the indicator that this is electromagnetic radiation tester, and that we're in the harmful range right now at my computers. And like I always do, I point it here, which is just a wall on a futon. I point it back to the computer. There's no controls on the side. All the controls are on the front. This is just a grip. And when I point it this way, that's the front window. See, nothing. As I ease it back towards the computers, because I have two computers here, and even down because the computer's down here, which means it's totally messing up my crotch area, apart from my brain, I'm getting harmful electromagnetic radiation every frickin' day. Every frickin' day. And so are you. Because those smartphones are giving it off like, like there's no tomorrow. So game over, man. So why is the IPCC lying? Why are they allowing this Elon Musk to put up this, and this new bill that passed, it's just basically a lot of that money's going into Elon Musk's pocket. And more of this 5G type of stuff. And, people don't really talk about this. They were for a while, but it was being like smirked off, by these people in the media who are untraveled, uneducated, basically functionally illiterate. You could have gone to an Ivy League school and you haven't learned shit, man. There's people who graduated from the 6th grade in the 40s or the 50s that have the equivalent of like freshman, sophomore in college today. I'm serious. People just don't get it. I have I get so many direct references. I don't want to name names because it's just not my way. I respect everybody's privacy. Put it this way, I knew an individual who who eventually later on in life got a GED, right? Because it was, in fact, the only reason he had gotten a GED is because he didn't even need it. He was brilliant because he read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. But the reason he got a GED is he needed it to get his real estate license, all right? Because he wanted to get into real estate and do some of that. And so he did, and just got it like that. He ended up like doing some teaching at a local college, a course in something. But the point is, the amount of knowledge that individual knew prior to his GED and all that other stuff, and even prior to even reading the Encyclopedia Britannica cover to cover, which is unimaginable to the average person. You take like somebody like the Bible, for example. All right, and the small print of a Bible. Forget about some big thing. I'm trying to give you something. I'm talking about, I don't care what Bible. All right, and you take a Bible. First of all, the Encyclopedia Britannica was like about yay big, whereas a Bible's about yay big. Okay, so you could fit one Bible on one edition of Encyclopedia Britannica, and that would include the width. Okay. Well, all volumes of Encyclopedia Britannica were like fill the bookshelf. Like 2 rows of a bookshelf or something. Your average bookshelf. So imagine someone reading that small print. The equivalent of 48 Bibles or something, right? And having comprehension of all that information. And that's how people were, and whether people had the Funkin' Wagnall, or whatever it was, practically everybody's house had dictionaries and encyclopedias and thesauruses. And the classics, right? I talk to people today who are in who've been in graduate school and stuff, master's degrees. And, and I say, have you read this book? Have you read that book? Have you read this book? And they're like, I don't know. No, I don't know that book. I'm going like, man, we had to read that in high school when I went to school. High school. So anyway, those people at the IPCC, all right, and Elon Musk, the great engineer. Screw him, man. He didn't invent the electric fucking guitar or car or guitar. He calls it Tesla, and it's an insult to Tesla, The electric car was around in Tesla's day. That's how old it is. It's just an overpriced piece of shit, man. It's killed people. It's killed people. And these self-driving cars, it's going to kill more people. What do people think they are? It's like these people, the people worry about AI taking over the world. AI, man. AI is dumb and getting dumber. You say, well, how could it be getting dumber? Because the people programming it are dumber. All right? Anyway, the reason is I bring this chart up, because this serves, and I talk about those two individuals, Musk as well as the IPCC, because he's involved in that climate change thing too. That's part of his whole bullshit. I don't care what kind of happy horseshit number. 0.004 CO2 is fucking nothing. It's the sun that affects the Earth's climate. Get it through your thick skull. All right? End of story. Magnetic field is involved in that as well, because the magnetic field protects us from cosmic and solar rays. We live on a nitrogen planet. All right? Nitrogen. That's why I like it to rain instead of watering my plants with a hose. Because there is the number one gas in our atmosphere is nitrogen. You know what nitrogen is? It's good. It's fertilizer. And when you get these rains, these deluges, that's bringing down that nitrogen into the soil. People don't think about stuff like that because they just don't think. And I find that a good all-day rain, that's pulling everything down, is embedding that nitrogen fertilizer right into the ground. And you know what? I've been farming, growing stuff for years, and you talk to other farmers and stuff like that. Unless you're putting additives into the soil, there is no comparison to a good old rain. You should see. If the sun comes out today and tomorrow, you're going to see, I'm going to have plants and tomatoes and zucchinis and stuff ballooning. Flowers blooming like, wow, Yeah. Okay. And that's number one. Nitrogen is the number one gas in our atmosphere. Okay. 0.004% CO2. Bullshit. Nothing. And all these Wi-Fi signals falling over, and now these really super satellites are in low Earth orbit, by the way. We don't really go to space. Even the space station is it's low Earth orbit. It's not really out in space. Right? Well, these Musk's, satellites that he's putting up, thousands of these fucking things. All right? Which have totally destroyed the sky. Now, you're getting people now, used to look at the sky and look for shooting stars, or even people who are looking for UFOs or other things like that. But instead, there's all this stuff moving around. It's Musk satellites because they're so low they're super low in the sky. Also, somebody could get internet better, supposedly, allegedly, some rich fuck, because you got to buy the dish, buy the equipment, and then pay a monthly fee. And what, the government's going to subsidize it? I saw, there's so many, so is that part of the plan? I saw there was something in the bill to help subsidize or lower the rate. Are they going to lower my internet? You put your cell phone in your pocket and you're a guy, you're basically on the road to being sterile. Your sperm count's already basically been greatly reduced. If you're a woman, you're putting that, talking all day long and all that shit, even with earbuds and all that other crap, you're going to end up with a fucking brain tumor, man. Chart of electromagnetic radiations. I just showed you. That was a scientific piece of equipment I pulled out. That was a lab tool. Field and a lab tool. People don't get it. IPCC. They get off, and this has probably made news because I don't watch the news. I'm sure it made news. I saw some other thing in passing, a title card, on the new, one of the news strips on fucking YouTube, right? It's hotter than hell in here now. This shirt, I can't take this one off. I'd be topless. But anyway, it's so hot in here. It's radiation. Frickin' radiation. Get the shirt, game over, you fucks. I used to have this thing, like people using the F word, like in every possible way. I know I have it somewhere audio-wise, but I'm not going to bring it out. But the thing is, man, people are so out of touch with reality. It's so pathetic. Anyway, game over, man. Game over. From what I see, so they passed this bill for infrastructure that's got some of this money that's probably going to go to Musk, right? Yeah. Like we need to go to Mars, right? We need that like a hole in the head. You can't breathe there. Do you know they actually have this place? They're looking for people. You could get a job. You get a job. You remember that movie with Pauly Shore, where they broke in? Him and that other dude broke into that place where they were doing that space thing, like a 1-year experiment where they were living inside this complex to see what it would be like to live off planet. Do you remember that movie? It was goofy. Pauly Shore. Anything Pauly Shore did was like completely ridiculously goofy, stupid. Well, and it's funny to watch. I watched the coverage of this thing. They're looking to set up another one of these things, but they're looking for people, and they'll pay you to go in there and live there for a year to see what it would like to be surviving in Mars. But this one isn't like the other one that was like some kind of domed thing. This one has no windows, right, or anything, and you have to be in there. But the announcer's so stupid, that they didn't even make reference to that they've already created 2 of these, like before, like 20, 30 years ago, whenever it was. And the reason they didn't, most likely, is because they probably didn't know, which is a continuation of a topic and a line of thinking and criticism that is on this show regularly. In other words, if you're 20 years old, all right, you don't know a world without this, okay? If you're 30 years old, you basically don't know a world without the internet. Right? And if you're 40 years old, you barely understand the concept of, socioeconomic geopolitics and how we got to this point, and how the world works and anything of that sort. And it seems people over 50s were so much, the hippie yippie to turn into yuppies, self-centered narcissists, that they don't know jack shit about anything. Like, did they ever learn anything? Or did they just bake their brains away with pot? Right? Yeah. Game over, man. Game over. All right? It's game over. There's just simply not enough people. Yes, I'm generalizing. Of course, there are people who, haven't had their brains baked, and people that basically have gone the extra mile, or they've had a mentor that has taught them things. There are younger people. They're all witches. They're all. That's just the madman in me, right? I just can't help it.
Hello. 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 Hello.
Yeah, there's a witch. The witch is right around that corner from me, right next to me. But people just don't get it. I mean, what I see, and I see a lot, okay, because I'm retired. And so, first of all, I did a lot and traveled ridiculously. I traveled more than, than many, many, many people. I traveled the world. I circumnavigated the globe. That's why I laugh at people say it's a flat earth. It's like, I'm sorry, man. I went around it. You idiot. I've been around it. I circumnavigated the globe, okay? I've been in most of the contiguous U.S. states, all right? And when I go to a state, I don't just drive through and maybe pull in a diner and have a cup of coffee and a frickin' eggs and bacon. No, I usually pull into a bar or someplace, get a hotel room, and then walk over to a bar, spend the night there, get to know some people, talk with people, whatever. If I'm having a good time, maybe stay a couple days. All right? That's what I did. All right? And when I say I lived and worked in New York City, it's like, yeah, I lived and worked there. Spent several years there. When I say I lived and worked in Los Angeles, California, I lived and worked there. And made trips up to what they call Silicon Valley and San Fran, and used to go up there to when Apple used to have their conferences. I've been to Vegas for the computer CompUSAs or whatever they called it. When I was in radio, I've been to Vegas for NAB. I've been to New Orleans for NAB. You know, lived in Florida on the Gulf Coast. Lived and worked in D.C. Lived and worked in Philadelphia. Well, how could you do all that stuff if yeah. Well, you get a job. You work it for a couple of years. You accomplish everything that you're supposed to accomplish beyond what they even expected. And then you move on to a better position, a better job in a different part of the country. That's what you do. Time passes. You spend a couple of years here. You spend 5 years there. You spend 2 years there. You spend a year and a half there. Doesn't take long. And you're still only up to a decade and a half or so. You see what I mean? People don't understand. Like bureaucrats. They get a job out of college and they sit there for their entire life until they are qualified for their pension, right? And then they're retired. And then they believe all this happy horse shit. And all they've ever done is, is push papers around from desk to desk until the computer came in. Then they passed emails and texts and went to lunch, took long vacations, and had these meetings, PowerPoint presentations about like the workplace. Created human resources department. Don't talk to a coworker if she's female. Don't smile at her or say hi. That's a no-no. Right? No fraternization. When I grew up, most people's got their wives and met their wives and girlfriends through the workplace. Right? That's how it basically was. That's a fact. Jack. And if not most, a lot. Like 40%. If it wasn't, if it wasn't the majority, it was 40%. Now they don't want people to to even go to work anymore. But what are we talking about here? We're talking about game over, man. I've looked at some of these little panels, like I say, the title cards. All right. I didn't want to get rid of that. My title cards are always cool and outrageous and ridiculous, Who has this kind of stuff? You notice there's a picture of the sun on there. I just noticed that. Let's take a look. Let's close up on that. The sun. It shows you can see like solar flares and things on there. It's pretty fascinating. Wonder how large I can get this thing without it totally distorting out. Because on this side that I'm trying to enlarge and bring in the screen is where the serious stuff is. Gamma rays, radiation, matter. The sun. There's the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Characterized by a common speed in a vacuum. Radiations. X-ray tube. Look at this. Ultraviolet X-rays, gamma rays. X-ray effects. Compton effect. Conservation of energy and momentum between collision of X-ray protons and electrons. People don't know anything about any of this stuff, right? And the idea is to have, you just want to have basically an overview, at least an overview of science is what I'm trying to get at. And people today don't have that. That's why they're functionally illiterate. In other words, they have this, they have poor reading skills, which has nothing to do with this stupid thing, okay? Because you still got to read, but they don't read. They just look at the headline from their news app. They don't write because they use, emoji and abbreviations, right? They can't write. So they got poor reading and writing skills. They don't, and forget about arithmetic because they use, what gets a calculator on there? Yeah, we always had calculators. Hey, do you know that I actually mastered right before the calculator came in? That's my time frame. There used to be a thing called a slide rule. I don't have one. I used to have one. That frickin' idiot that destroyed that building with all my life's possessions in it, which I'm over now, but it still gets my goat every now and then. I would in my various boxes of stored things there would have been a slide rule. People don't even know what a slide rule is. It was an amazing device. It was just looked like a ruler, but slide rule. The center of it you could slide, and there was like a little plastic thing with a line on it. And it was ingenious. I mean, you could calculate pi on that thing, square roots. I mean, it was crazy. And I remember finally figuring it out when I learned it. I'm going, wow, this is really amazing. It's really amazing. But it wasn't long after that the calculator kind of came along. This is slide rules. There was no reason for a slide rule whatsoever. I mean, I could, let me try. Let's get a picture of a slide rule just for the sake of it. Because there's actually people out there that I'm sure do not even know what a slide rule is. Slide rule. You can still buy them, I think. Some pictures I found. This is a decent one. Yeah, let me put this over here. Get rid of this. Bear with me, people. Forgive me. I don't like to talk about a thing unless I show you a thing. Not like other people. And I'm going to have to name it. My mouse is kind of screwed up. I have to bang it. Got dust on it or something. Slide rule. One word. Put it in here. And let me just see if I have any extra things that can be replaced. Nope. So we'll just add an image. I don't think I have an image of the day anymore. So we'll just call this image of the day. That way I don't have to keep constantly doing this. Unload image when not showing. Browse. I'm going to have to go back to the desktop. Title. And slide rule. Open. There she be. This is a slide rule. Then neat. So this funky device, which I know you can't really make out the numbers on it, but you can make out that there's this plastic thing with the line on it. And you can kind of see that it looks like a barcode on the right and left side. That's like where that centerpiece is, you can slide that. And all those things, those various numbers, would enable you to figure out and calculate anything beyond your wildest imagination. I mean, I think during the Apollo missions, if I may be correct, there were a few guys with some slide rules, messing with the slide rule. A slide rule. Made of wood, basically, with some pieces of metal or something. But basically does, as much as any calculator, pretty much so, than your average calculator. Some might say it was, even a better computing device than a common calculator. And so that's how you get, you think about, previous civilizations and stuff, and you talk about technology and stuff. And I still have this idea, and I'm not talking necessarily about the slide rule, but it's an example of the idea of non-mechanized, non-machine, non-computerized, digitized civilizations that could have risen to a very high level. Or how people could have done complex calculations, such as, in construction of buildings and things of that sort. And people said, well, how did they do that? How did they figure out, that get so precise to within, such and such a, percent or something? And it's probably they had some sort of slide rule. You create things. Like, it's interesting to note, like, when you live at or below the poverty level or something, or if you're just like, you're over budget and you can't afford to buy a thing. I don't care if you make 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever it is. But everybody's been at a point where it's like, hey, I'm maxed out, man. This month I gotta stay within budget. I can't afford to, buy this, buy that, get this. Till I get caught up on something, or you had an unexpected expense or something like that. You had to put a new roof on your house. Please, somebody send me a new roof. Hey, Elon Musk, why don't you put one of your roofs on my house? Okay, that would be perfect. All right. That'd be nice. If they're going to spend $3.5 trillion, why don't they just give us all, solar panel roofs? Well, they would never do that, because then that would get rid of the centralized system of energy, you see? But anyway, so say some guy's building, some bridge, some structure, some ancient church, some castle or something weird like that, or whatever, whatever it is, and, ancient weaponry, catapult, that kind of thing. So they probably had devices like this. And the other thing about it is, I know myself, didn't I show you that outdoor sink thing, that time? I mean, we're done with the slide rule. You got what a slide rule is? It's looks like a ruler, but the center section of it moves. And there's various rows. There's 4, I don't know, technically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's about 10 or so rows. And they're organized in such a fashion that with there's lines on this, center clear plastic thing that comes through, that you can do these incredible calculations. Incredible. All right, that's a slide rule. It's a there's no, In fact, this particular one has screws on the side and like metal plating. The one I had was didn't have any metal or anything on it at all. It was just wood. And the center thing just slid. It was just, kind of like a tongue and groove, type of thing or something. I mean, but, you slid. And I guess if it got tight, you put some graphite on it or something like that. Just like pencil lead or something. To make it, move, smoother. All right. But anyway, that's that. That's the slide rule. So since we're at image of the day, so I'm going to go to, see if I could find, because I know I had this and I shouldn't have taken it out. Let's see. What's this unnamed thing? Yeah. Remember I showed you this? It's got to be here. Sorry to waste your time. It's worth it. We talked about this once before. Gets the point across. Trying to explain something. How, people who disrespect previous generations and man, and who think that calculations and the stuff they have, I'm just gonna take a real wing at this and see if this comes up. Take me a second. No. Let's try it under. Nope. Let's try it like this. This is going to bring up 10,000 fucking results. Apple computers. That is really weird. Well, whatever I named it, cancel. I showed you one time on one of my shows where I needed a sink. I wanted to build a sink. I have no idea where the thing. I mean, I wouldn't have thrown it away. I'm dying of heat. I feel like turning on the air conditioner. I'm going to turn on the air conditioner. I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail's feather. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, it is weird about these. You can see how these headphones kind of make the face look round, right? You should see the other one. There's some old videos of me where I was wearing these rounded ones and I look like that, like one of these guys on Star Wars, like on one of those battleships. Hope this air conditioner works. Oh, man. It's hot. You have no idea. It's weird. Anyway, I needed a sink in my yard. I thought about buying one, but I couldn't afford it. I wanted an outdoor sink so when I harvested potatoes, root plants, carrots, things like shallots or chives and stuff like that. Stuff that's buried in the ground filled with dirt. Okay? And maybe even just to wash off stuff. Right? And so I'm like, well, I don't have any money to get one of these things, and I can't get wood. Wood's really expensive. So I can't build a frame. And, so I'm going to talk while I still look for this thing because I know I must have it. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to do? I have to, I got to do this because harvesting is only like, at this point right now, harvesting is really just a matter of weeks away. So if I'm looking in a weird direction, it's because I'm looking for this thing that I know I showed on this show, and it would have been in this, or should have been in this particular folder, directory, whatever you call it in your reality. And so I'm going, well, what am I going to do? I can't afford to buy like wood to build myself this, cabinet with a counter and all of that kind of thing. I mean, that's out of the question. And I would still need some kind of sink, and which would have to be purchased, and all of that jazz. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? And so I just went outside and I started to think, okay, how am I going to do this? Well, what can I come up with? There must be a solution to this problem. The same way someone who was tasked with something, 1,000, 2,000 years ago was trying to solve some sort of problem. And so I went into my garage and I started to look around and think about things and like, okay, what do I have? Do I have any raw ingredients? And anyway, I can't, it's not there. It's got to be on my Mac, my iPhone. That doesn't really work anymore. They're so much into pushing the new 13 that's coming out or something, iOS 13 and the new iPhones or whatever they are, that this thing is like basically doesn't even barely functions. I'm really disappointed with that, with Apple, the way they do that. Because there's nothing wrong with this machine. Device, I should say. Okay, so there it is. All right. So what I'm going to do is just show you what's on my iPhone. And that's not that hard to do. And I'm getting like notifications while I do this, which is ridiculous. All right, I have to move this to the top so it's visible. And I'm going to turn it on. There. So what I decided to do is I had this foldable table, and you see how it's foldable. That thing actually is twice the width. Okay? Twice the width of what it looks like. In other words, that white part that's hitting the ground is just the right side of the table. So I could move that up. So if I have a lot of vegetables, I could fill that whole side, right? And it still would function as a foldable table. So if I wanted to use something on it, the piece that I cut out, you see this bowl that seems to be in, that's like, so I basically, cut out a hole. That's a Dollar Tree white bowl. All right. So I cut out a hole to that size, put silicone around it. This was a Dollar Tree bowl that I had some like potatoes things stored in my garage. This folding table was leaning against my garage for 5 years inside. I had no use for it. When I first moved here, I didn't have stuff, so I used them as like desk space and stuff until I built, when I first built desks. Like I have a desk now. So it ended up sitting in the garage. So I made this round hole, put silicone around it, stuck this dollar bowl in there. And down at the very bottom, it looks like there's a drain thing on it. I had one of these, an extra, it's like a metal mesh thing that I use on my sink to keep things from going down the drain, pieces, things that could block the drain. I had an extra one of them. And what's not there now, this is out in the backyard, and you could see it's a part of the yard where it doesn't get sunlight. So there's like some moss growing down there. That's all that is. But anyway, I clean that off periodically. But I put a 5-gallon bucket underneath there, and it's next to where my hose is. So, and I have a splitter on my hose. One goes all the way down to my garden, and that green hose, and I've since bought I got it for like $4, a nozzle, a spray nozzle. So I built this sink, wash vegetable preparation sink. And I have an extra colander pad there. And that piece of wood looks, if you look closely, it kind of resembles a mini cutting board. Well, when I bought this wooden cutting board, it was too big to fit in my sink to wash properly. And so I had to saw off a piece of it. But it's a cutting board. So I figured that'll be perfect with a knife. It's a cutting board. See, and I don't know if you know this or not. If you're one of those people that use those plastic cutting boards. Well, anyway, I'm getting some weird YouTube thing. So I guess I got to turn this iPhone thing off. It's causing some problems. I hate that. See, they're really screwing with you. I can't even keep the iPhone on anymore. Because it starts making connections to the cloud and stuff, and I was getting a spinning thing. So who knows what kind of whatever's going on. But anyway, you got the idea. Hopefully you're able to hold that in your memory. And I was talking about these plastic things people put on their counters to chop vegetables in their house. Well, no matter how hard you scrub those, you could still get bacteria and things like that on them. But did you know that the old-fashioned wood cutting boards are antibacterial? Yeah, I guess you didn't know that. You still got to still scrub mine off after I chop my vegetables and stuff. So use a wooden one instead of one of those plastic ones or whatever they are. They used to call them bleeding. I don't know why they called them that, but it was the idea healing, bleeding or healing. I'm sorry, bleeding. Healing, because if you cut it with a knife, it didn't matter. You couldn't really put a hole in it. It would just heal itself. But yeah, they're not antibacterial, as opposed to good old-fashioned wood is. So this gets back into that whole idea. So, from talking about the slide rule. I'm just organizing myself here. From the idea of an old wooden slide rule, again, ignore that metal stuff on the side. That's just somebody trying to get around a patent, or something weird like that. Coffee's gotten ice cold. You want to stay hydrated, though. Got to keep the colon hydrated. Huh. So I basically was able to build a sink for next to nothing, a wash-up sink for next to nothing. Human ingenuity, creativity of consciousness. Not even the biological brain. All right, that's creativity, which comes from consciousness, the you. Right? And there would be other people there taking a temper tantrum or getting freaked out or slapping around their wife or something because of frustration that they couldn't, they were broke that month and they couldn't afford to do the thing they wanted to do. Yeah. That's how people with a lack of creativity do. They don't think, or they become a thief, commit a crime, right? Or just go bananas, get frustrated, stressed out, and crazy. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you is that humans, we happen to go the digital, mechanical, route for our civilization. We're also a carbon-based civilization, and they're trying to take that away, but it's like you don't take away a carbon-based civilization at, basically at its kind of, I would say peak, but really civilization's collapsing. And if they take away carbon, that's basically the last nail in the coffin of Western civilization as we've known it. I mean, we're literally going to go back to the Stone Age. And people have no idea how to use a slide rule or how to create, like I'm saying, creativity is lost. So people aren't going to be coming up with ideas like I just shared with you, right? How to build your own sink, right? Yeah, 5-gallon bucket underneath the sink, a Dollar Tree bowl, and some stuff you had laying around the house. In other words, look at the materials, look at the environment, look at what you have, and create something. And I've done that in my backyard and my garden constantly. And it's amazing what you could do with a very minimal amount of money, if not no money at all in some cases, just by creating something. So this is how you understand, and this is how people built structures. This is how people advanced previous civilizations, or even just previous cultures, even just centuries ago, if not a few millennia ago. I mean, look at the Romans and the aqueducts and all that stuff. That was just thinking. Look at the Greeks, ancient Greece. It was just thinking. I would say the Egyptians, but, I'm pretty sure, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure that the Egyptians happened upon the pyramids, right? They just happened. What we call, the dynastic period of Egypt was a civilization that happened upon that particular location. Yeah, and not even something on the magnitude of like the so-called Atlanteans or anything like that. Like a previous civilization. It seems Atlantis was in northern Africa, by the way. That's why it's amazing. There's some interesting stuff going on with the Sahara Desert now. Because, see, the Sahara, they call it, that whole northwestern part of Africa, a lot of it's desert, except along the coasts, basically was inundated with water. Sand is basically what you find at the bottom of the ocean, right? At the shore. It's a constant bombardment. And, there's all, you could ask anybody not anybody, but ask somebody who specializes in that thing, what sand is, how it's created, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, Africa was covered with water, that whole desert, right? If you think about it. And so when so what happened was, there's people looking at this right now, serious people studying this, that there's this ringed area that happens to kind of look like the description, Plato's description of Atlantis that basically is up there, and through these maps, like Google Maps, satellite maps that people study. And now people have gone to the location since. That probably was where Atlantis was. And there was water there. Right. Now there's none. And like I said, now all that sand seems to be coming across over here, bringing with it mold spores and bacteria and virus and who knows what else. And the sheer volume that's being kicked up right now is unnatural. It seems to me, I should say. So, yeah, a lot of strange stuff going on. But back to this, when I started talking earlier about this news and this game over, the reason I'm keeping that image up. And I'm getting one of those. I have the game, you see the hat, over here, game over. And of course, everything is wrong is a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt, by the way, up there. And of course, the morning show mug. See my thumb, G, you're dumb. And of course, Rock Flux mug. I got it all. I get it all. I will get it all. What I don't have, I will get. My chair fell down again. And my pillow that props me up, because this is such a cheap chair, that the back is like fades into, becomes a recliner, even when you don't want it to be a recliner. So the news, this IPCC thing was probably all over the news, and I saw like there was a condition read about climate and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, man, are you way off? And why are they doing this to people? Yeah, that's the thing. What are they up to? Why are they outright lying, deceiving, and doing all this bait and switching stuff? First of all, you cannot change the climate of a planet the size of the Earth. A human being. If you ever were in an airplane, see, that's another problem. A lot of these people never even flew, I don't think. Or if they did, they flew to like, Disney World on a vacation or a class trip somewhere. Right? These people who are like, buying this stuff hook, line, and sinker. It's like they never really drove around. They never went anywhere. They didn't like log like I did, like 100-some thousand, air miles, It's like you can't even see humans from 20,000, 30,000 feet up, man. All right? All you see is trees and ocean. And then, and particularly in the U.S., you see rivers and the Great Lakes, and you'll see farm areas, great swaths of land that are, have been carved out, for big ag, farming. That's what you see. You'll see the deserts. Okay? That's what you see from up there. You don't see people. You don't see cars. Cities look, what cities look like? For those who don't fly, I mean, when you're that far up, cities look like circuit boards, right? If you've ever seen, if you've ever had a radio or something break, a computer break on you or something, and it opened up and you saw the guts of it, and you saw a circuit board, that's what cities look like, little circuit boards, right? At nighttime, it's even more bizarre. But you can't see people or cows. And they're trying to tell you that this is man-made climate change. And as if they're going to do some things and pass some laws, right? I love the word law, right? These couple of thousand people who think they can rule over 8 billion people on the planet, right? We outnumber them by billions, by the billions and billions. And they're going to pass some laws, and they're saying that things on a planet that cannot even be seen are negligible, right? Negligible. Have affected the climate. And meanwhile, the Earth, I don't think I got rid of it yet. I hope I did. Did I get rid of that darn thing? No, the title card. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is very important here. Let me just do this. Okay, if you look, I'm going to blow this way up because it's not about reading text. It's about looking at the sun and the earth. You see the sun here? You see the sun in this, like, sort of the center of the screen? And if you look to the right of the sun, I don't know if it's your right, my left, stage right, stage left, whatever. But you'll see something that says observer on Earth. You see a dot, put it that way, on one side of the sun. Now, look at the size of the sun and those solar flares or these things coming off of the sun. And then that dot, which is the planet Earth. All right? So we're on that dot, which is the planet Earth, okay? And the giant sun, all right, and is missing from the IPCC UN IPC report. And they're trying to say that dot next to the sun, because that's the Earth, we're just a dot compared to the sun. There's no way you could even, and even when you're at Earth and you're just up in a plane, you can't even see people. And they're saying that people and cows and stuff that humans have done are affecting the planet more than that giant sun that is just one big ball of radiated heat, right? And it's shooting all kinds of radiation at us. And it goes through solar cycles, grand cycles. Now, these are educated people who work for the UN IPCC. Do you know that there have been peer-reviewed papers in journals, respected journals, okay, scientific journals, over the past decade or so, that are pretty much, if you take them and put them aside of the IPCC report that was just released yesterday or the day before, whenever the hell it came out, and you put them side by side, the peer-reviewed scientific journals, en masse, right, contradict the IPCC report. Yet the media has no clue because nobody in the media is reading peer-reviewed journals. They don't read scientific journals. They don't know what's going on. They can't even comprehend that the Earth is just a dot compared to the sun. They don't understand that the Earth has a weakening magnetic field. All right? It's just like your buddy Elon Musk is completely unaware that he's shooting microwaves, at the planet and in super low Earth orbit for the sake of somebody to, text faster or something. Like, what the? You got to be kidding me. So it's game over, man. It's game over. Everything you know is wrong. You don't know what you don't know. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com, and get those shirts, get that stuff, wear that stuff. Wake people up. This is a subtle way of communicating with people. See, if you're afraid to talk to your family, you're afraid to talk to your coworkers, You're afraid to talk to people in line at the store, right? Then wear a shirt that says, "You don't know what you don't know." And let people look at it from their 6-foot social distancing. Because, people are nosy. They're always looking at you. Right? Let people look at that shirt or hoodie, or whatever. And let that go through their little pea brain, their jello mold. Right? And contemplate that. And if you really have balls, wear everything you know is wrong or game over. My favorite is next what? Question mark. Then what? Next question mark. That's what it is. Then what? And I've got them all. Right? It's like, then what? Hey, you just passed a bill in Congress now. Then what? What are you going to do? Give some money to your buddies in various states? Right? Some big contracting firms are going to get awarded something to do what? You don't have the people to do it. There's no workforce. Nobody knows how to work the heavy equipment. Right? There's millions upon millions of job positions open right now. Nobody's applying for them. So now you're gonna create this massive infrastructure project, and you're gonna need millions and millions of highly technical workers, people that could work front end loaders and sophisticated bulldozers, cranes, right? Heavy duty trucks, dump trucks, and things like that. Machines that you don't even know about, that fix things they use for highways. I'm sure they have names, but I've seen them. I've seen them because I've been involved in, like I said, I did some work for a group that was involved in that kind of thing. And I've seen the machines up close, just in a line. And they, people don't even know what they are. They're ginormous too. That's the kind of stuff they use to fix highways, bridges, airports, stuff like that. Do you think fixing the rail lines in Amtrak is going to be like in blazing saddles, a bunch of guys with picks and axes and hammers laying rail lines? Or are they going to actually try to build some mag lift type of trains and things like that? The technology that's being used in other countries. Other countries have had high-speed rail, like Japan and stuff. Even in Europe, but Japan particularly, they've had these high-speed rail lines, for decades. Right? So who do we have? What are we going to do? Hire Japanese people to come over here to build this stuff? Well, so much for putting Americans to work. I don't think the Japanese would want to come over here and do it. I guess if they pay them enough money. But that, we don't have the expertise here. Right? People go to college here like they're trained in social issues. Something's blank, fill in the blank studies, right? That has to do with something that's on a cardboard sign in a protest rally, right? Blank studies. You fill in the blank, right? And there's a lot of blanks you could fill in, just look at some kind of footage from some rally, what cardboard signs on a stick that, people have been holding up, and fill in, take the slogan off of the cardboard sign. Fill that in, and under it put studies, and that's what these people have degrees in. And they're going to fix the infrastructure of the U.S. Yeah, right. And they're going to do this what? And these machines, this heavy equipment that has that is necessary in order to do this requires carbon-based fuels, and they're going to phase out carbon-based fuels at the same time they're going to try to rebuild. Because, by the way, this is decades. This is a grandiose project. This is like one of the biggest campaign con jobs ever, that I've ever seen in my lifetime, right? The biggest campaign promise con jobs ever. It's like, you're talking about a project that even if it was conceivable, it would be years into planning stages, right? Do you ever you see, this is the point. Politicians have no real world experience, and protesters and news readers have no real world experience. See, I know this stuff because I've done all these things, and I've known people, and I sat down because I'm a drinker. I was, and I used to sit down and talk and meet people in airport lounges and, in places all over and talk and discuss about stuff. I've knew many billionaires and talked who were working on projects. Guys I'd be having beers with who'd be bitching about the engineering firm, and the architects. And then getting this stuff approved, through all the bureaucracies. People that just wanted to in just a regular town, a normal sized city where it was trying to remodel, refurbish some building or some plant. And they were, and it was like $600,000 to the engineers and architects. And then all these people, county inspectors and stuff coming in and nitpicking on this. No, you can't do that. Then it goes back to the engineers, right? And they finally come up with this thing, and it's like, a year later, construction starts, right? And then, and that's just talking on some small manufacturing mini plant. Literally a mini plant. I have one in my back of my mind I know firsthand. Now, could you imagine, some kind of high-speed rail line, right? Or some kind of new major changes to some kind of airport, right? Or some new bridge, or refurbishing some bridge, or, highways, byways, whatever. And all the complexities of that, rerouting traffic temporarily, the mass confusion and mayhem it would be for a decade-long project, right? That would be outdated by the time it was finished. We're on the cusp of so many different things, like I say, that the technology that would be employed today by the current architects and engineers, when you're considering technology and the advancements right now, would definitely be outdated in 10 years. Definitely be outdated. Right? And so then what are you going to do? Right? What, go with experimental things that are untested, that you're going to, have tens of thousands, if not millions of people use? Well, you can't mess with that many lives with some kind of experimental thing. Of course, they're doing that with some other thing right now too, right? So we can rush something out. So I'm saying the whole thing's a con job, man. It's a con job. Game over. This civilization fell. All that money's going to do is go to some big contracting firms, and it's going to go in their coffers, and their boards of directors and shareholders are going to get that money. This may just be another one of those money grabs. Maybe it's a way for the Fed and the bankers to get some of that money back that they've been pushing for free. And then you've got this BlackRock and all these companies that are buying up neighborhoods so that they could, make this a rental culture. Right? It's game over, man. And you don't know it. because you're still hoping to save America, right? I just explained that the Build Back Better thing is a farce. Forget about the Great Reset and that button. That's the Staples button. That's a plastic button that's connected to nothing. And by the way, the Great Reset happened back in 2008, more or less. Technically, it happened in the mid-90s, right? But by 2008, it was done. So, so then you got Save America, the cult of personality. Politics is pop culture. These are people just going through the motions, trying to make money and hold on to their high-rise apartments and their chauffeurs and their big SUVs. And like I always say, this. Their neighborhoods, and with their driving sit-down drive mowers. The only problem is BlackRock is buying up all those neighborhoods now. And they want to rent them. They want to rent them to you. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's the slogan of the World Economic Forum. They have a commercial about that. A couple different versions of it. Yeah, I'm laughing at you, not with you. That is the unbelievable. What's going on? Unbelievable. So it's game over. You're clueless to the whole thing, right? And you can sit there and eat a sandwich. Actually, what we need to do is we need to take the hoodie and put it behind Rock Flux. Yeah, that looks better. I think we might keep her in for a couple of days. Remember, we had that horror woman there for a while. Yeah. Let's keep the game over. I'll push her a little bit to the side. You can't see it right now because it's still too dark, but the Mac, what I want to do is I'm going to go to the filters. I'm going to try to take this a little bit closer. Let's try 210. Maybe 205. Yeah. So you can still see there the original Mac there. It looks like it kind of says "Ant to Elieve," but it's "I Want to Believe" Mulder's poster. So yeah, that's the purpose. That's game over, man. And it's not the end of everything. I mean, like I said, you got your consciousness. You've got, life is a soul experience. You've got your five senses. You've got creativity. I showed you demonstrations of just simple things I've done. I mean, those are simple things. I can't think of everything, and I'm not going to tell you everything. I mean, even this setup here was like, I had to be creative with it because I've had my share of problems. So problem solving is creativity. And I just don't see coming out of the type of people that we have in politics, the bureaucrats, to see massive creativity. Because these are people that just throw money at everything. Well, if we put 3.1 trillion into it, we can get it done. Get her done, right? Another stupid phrase. Get her done. Yeah, get her done. You ain't going to get it done. Save America. You're going to save America from what? From what? From what? I watched a South Korean doctor the other day talking about this thing. And I've been critical in certain ways about certain things. And like I say, I'm not giving you any advice or anything of the sort. But you know what? This guy was not political at all, and he's pretty well known, and he's got the credentials and stuff. And it was actually in South Korean, It was like he was being interviewed by this guy who's kind of famous in the East show, as a YouTube show. big following, but it was translated. It had to be translated. And the guy said, "We're only about halfway through this thing." And I mean, it was about an hour long interview with this guy, and they really got into the nitty gritty stuff. And prior to that, I was just scoffing off some of this stuff and this, that, the other. But it's like, there's dark days ahead. I mentioned that yesterday. That song, Fell on Dark Days. I wish I could play it. I wish I could play that. It's too bad YouTube's such a fucked up thing, because I'd love to be able to go out with like a song every day that had something to do with something. Because, there practically is a song that does everything. I'd love to end the show today, like on the final title cards with "Fell on Dark Days." That's a classic tune, But it definitely it puts it into perspective. So it's like game over, man. And if you still watch the nightly news and television, and you're still getting caught up in arguing back and forth in Twitter, and you have this hope to save America. See, there's the need for hope. You know what your hope is? I was watching some stuff, in a whole different line, because you got to get into consciousness and your soul experience and creativity and your use of your senses. It's the idea is you got to let go and let the universe catch you. That was like a line in one of these things I was watching. Let yourself go and let the universe catch you. It's like that old thing they do sometimes in these people go to these not seminars, but it's like they'll go somewhere to learn something or to be better their lives, that kind of thing. And they'll have some exercise where they'll have you stand and then there's somebody behind you. And in order to have trust, they'll say, just fall backwards and trust that this person will catch you, right? You know what I'm talking about? That's like a thing. It's like it's a thing people have done at these kinds of things, right? Well, anyway, imagine the same concept, but let yourself go. The universe will catch you. All right? And don't worry about any of this stuff. When I talk about game over and all this, and laugh at these, marionettes, and I call politics of pop culture, and these people that are stooges that believe in the cult of personality, save America, build back better, the Great Reset, right? I mean, I'm just calling out the lies, hypocrisy, and idiocy, right? When I say we only need 6 years of education, I'm serious about it. But all that stuff put aside, just like I showed you that, you could do just as much with a slide rule made of wood as you can with a computer calculation-wise. And that you can use your creativity and spend literally no money or a couple of dollars to solve a problem or to create something you need that otherwise would have cost you hundreds of dollars. And you can just magnify that depending upon the thing there is and how previous civilizations and how people have figured things out using their creativity. So what you want to have hope is, and you want to have hope in creativity, hope in your soul, hope in your consciousness, hope in the universe, hope in mankind. And I do not mean the people that are walking around who are unconscious. I don't believe they have consciousness or souls. I really don't. I believe these people are biological, have electrobiological brains
right? There's a programmed subconscious in their android bodies. Excuse me. And in effect, they're just zombies. It's a zombie society. So, man, it's game over. But, if you're somebody if you have consciousness, creativity, if you're using your senses, all right, it's okay. Things are cool. Let go. The universe will catch you. All right? Everything's going to be okay from that standpoint. From a materialistic, this ridiculous, absurd existence that we have right now, all right? The former United States, the fall of Western civilization, the obsessive, materialistic culture, right? And whatever you want to call it. The lawnmower society, right? It's a lawnmower society, man. All I know is one thing.
I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered.
Drink some water. Hydrate yourself. Excuse me. Stay safe. All right? Boost your immune system. When it's a sunny day, get out and get some sun. All right? Eat well. All right? And just cut the cord to all of this stuff. And as far as this thing is concerned, if you use it as a tool, fine. Anything beyond that, if you're immersing yourself in that, it's become the center of your existence, something that didn't exist a decade or so ago, you've lost your frickin' mind, man. You are totally indoctrinated, conditioned, and programmed. Because that has nothing to do with reality. Nothing to do with reality. And if you think anything on TV is true, you're indoctrinated, conditioned, and programmed. Right? That's pure propaganda and lies. If you think that 0.004 CO2, man who is invisible once you get into an airplane, and that the Earth then is just a dot compared to the sun, if you think that 0.004 and man has anything to do with climate on this planet, the dot compared to the sun, which controls everything, all right, then you are indoctrinated, conditioned, and programmed, and you're listening to propaganda. If you think the UN, IPCC, and the World Economic Forum, and all those Davos set people, if you don't understand that they're narcissistic sociopaths with many psychopaths involved, then you're indoctrinated, conditioned, programmed, and subject and believing to propaganda. All right? Wake up to reality. Everything you know is wrong. All right? Game over. Game over. What you don't know, you don't know. And as far as all these promises, save this, build this, then what? Then what? Wake up, man. Wake up. Go to TonyCaravanLive.com and get yourself some stuff. Support this broadcast, this podcast, this webcast. All right? There's also a link there to Great Solar Stuff. You're going to need that stuff. Listen to me, man. You're going to need it. Get with it. Wake up. Wake up to reality.